come to lying on your right hand side and place the resistance band above the knees, so that they're never going to be on the kneecap itself over the knees, but above the knees on the more fleshy part. Okay, option number one is leaning on the elbow. Option number two, which is easier, is lying on the arm. When you lie on your elbow, make sure that your rib cage stays lifted all the time. There's a risk that as things are getting a little bit harder, we end up collapsing onto that shoulder. So always maintain that stability in the core. So I will start lying on the right shoulder. Make sure that the right elbow is below the shoulder. The knees are bent and feet are together. Number one, it's called the clam. Just lift up your left knee. Be aware that the left hip is not moving, so it is only the knee lifting up and down. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Number 2, lifting up the bent leg. So really feel how you're working against the resistance band. And after a while, there could be a burning feeling coming into the left hip. So this is exactly what we are looking for, knowing that we are using the right muscle called gluteus medius. Okay, 3 more, 2, and 1. Next one, lift up the feet. So keeping the feet together, and now lift up the left knee. So it's a clam like the number 1, except the feet are off the ground. So that's a little bit harder. And then as things are getting harder, there's that risk of collapsing in the ribs, so make sure that it's nice and steady. 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. So that's 3 exercises with bent legs. Next one is the legs are going to be straight. So the body is straight. So this is a lot harder now to be on that right elbow. So there's a real kind of risk that will collapse as we lift. So for the sake of keeping the technique good, I'm going to lie on my right shoulder. So kind of the easier version and focusing more on the kind of right technique and getting more benefit that way. Legs together, feet are flexed, and lift up the left leg. So if you're very flexible, you don't have to lift it very high, but it's the resistance we are working against. Also keeping the hips level here. So the body is in a straight line on this one. I think my head has disappeared from the view, but that's okay. 8, 9, and 10. And for the last one, bring the left leg a little bit behind the midline. Okay, be aware not to bring the left shoulder forward to compensate. So this is probably the hardest of them all. And now lifting and lowering. So the left foot is behind the right foot, and then lifting and lowering this way. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And by now, hopefully you're feeling a nice burn there. Okay, I feel my band has moved down, so I need to correct it. Bring it a little bit back up. Okay, and then onto the other side. Left side, elbow below the shoulder, knees are bent, and the first one is the clam. So it's a lovely one for different reasons. So we are actually even increasing the hip mobility here by doing this kind of offloaded movement. Well, there's a little bit of load from the resistance, and then we are strengthening the gluteus medius muscle. And also by kind of staying in the starting position, in the good position, we are activating the core. And a little bit of shoulder stability just even by putting the body weight on it. Next one, keep the leg bent and then lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. I'm using one of the more flexible bands here, so I'm able to lift a little bit higher. So if your band is quite tight, has more resistance, the movement is not going to be as big. But it's really the resistance rather than the range of movement we are focusing on here. Okay, and number 3, lift up the feet and now do the clamp, up and down. Okay, I can feel this work being done. And 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So if you feel you can stay on the elbow, but I'm going to lie down for the last 2, legs together, and then lift and lower, lift and lower. Really squeeze it up, keep the stomach in as well. Make sure your neck stays relaxed. So the arm is just a pillow, neck is not doing any work there, and then squeezing it up and down. 7, 8, 9, and 10. And the last one. So paying attention as the leg is moving back, that they're not coming forward with the shoulder, and then squeezing it up. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. If you need to give a little clap here to get the lactic acid out. Okay. Lying onto the back. It's called a hip bridge or pelvis bridge. So lying flat and feet are parallel. So the feet are, they're not pointing out, they're parallel, and activate the arches. And the feet are relatively close to the, so you might be able to even touch your hand and your ankle. So not kind of having the bigger angle in the knee, but a smaller angle. Or okay, then squeezing the buttocks, so the gluteus maximus muscle, holding up the hips and really clenching your buttocks. Straighten out your left leg and bring the left leg out to the side. So this is hard, so try to keep the hips at the starting level, and the leg doesn't have to go very far out, but it is the resistance from the band, and then it is the stability in the hips. So I have to work really hard here. So from my right glute to keep the hips level, so that's 10. Left foot back to the floor. If you feel your hamstring is going into cramp, squeeze the buttocks more, or also it helps to bring the left foot there a little bit closer to the hip. Straighten out your right leg and then bring it in and out. Okay. To make this version harder, you can take the hands off the floor and put it on your chest. So this makes it a little bit more challenging. So there's all these nice variations. So never getting bored doing these exercises. Okay. Next one. So if you like, you can do maybe one of them and then do the sideline series. Because it can be quite hard to do. We're going to 3 different ones here, to do them all after another, because when you get too tired, it's really hard to keep the hips up. Okay, straighten out your left leg, okay, flexing the left foot, same height as the right knee, lower the hips to the floor, and now driving it up from the right glute. So lift and lower, lift and lower, squeeze it up. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Left foot back to the floor. Make sure it's always landing straight where it was when we started. Squeezing the bum, straightening out your right leg. Lowering the hips, lift it back up. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. And lower. Lift and lower. Lift and lower. 8, 9, 10. If you feel your lower back is getting a little bit tight, just a quick stretch on it can be useful. And the final one, squeeze the hips. Well, we're not squeezing the hips, we're squeezing the muscles. So squeezing the buttocks, and make sure your inner thighs are activated, and then straighten out your left leg. Okay, point your toes, flex the toes. Point and flex, which is really just a distraction. The idea is to try to keep the hips up. Point, flex, point, flex, point, flex. So I'll show you point and flex, point and flex, point and flex. Okay, left foot back to the floor, straighten out your right leg, and then point and flex. And if you like, you can repeat this a few times, but the focus is really lifting from the hips. Can be hard. And then release, bring the knees to the chest, just a quick stretch. Okay. And the last one of these series is going on hands and knees on all fours. Hands below the shoulders. So if you have tendency to lock the elbows, make sure that they're just straight, maybe with a little spin on the arms. Knees are just below the hips. And this is, so we're going to lift the knee to the side. So I do the front view. So the knee is lifting to the side. So it's been called a doggy exercise. So imagine a male dog going doing his business on the lamppost and keeping the left hip where it was. So keep going, I'm just showing, so that not bringing the hip sideways. Makes it too easy. Keeping the hips level is important. Okay, 8 and 9 and 10, and you can do more of those. But I'm just doing 10 here. Okay, they're bending the right leg, trying to keep the right foot flexed, so it's not pointed, it's flexed. Keep the lower back totally flat. Imagine you're balancing something on the lower back. Stomach is in to stabilize the lower back. So bring the knee in and then kick it up. So it's called a donkey kick. So kick it up. And 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Keep it up, and then 10 pulses to finish with. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can always do more if you like. Left side, starting with the knee going sideways. Really be aware of that lower back not tilting, and that lovely kind of squeezing. So it's not about how far we can go, but how much resistance we can apply. Can we get the muscle activated? 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, lift up the left leg, and then bringing the knee in, and then squeeze it up. Stomach in. So this exercise is, all these exercises are good for any kind of rehab on your hips or knees, or just strengthening the core, toning up. There's so many benefits, and they are not difficult exercises, but they are so specific for these gluteus medius, gluteus maximus muscles. We couldn't stand without these muscles, we couldn't walk. Helps us to execute any movement better, supports us in walking and running and whatever sports we're doing, if not doing sports in everyday life. Okay, and then finish off with the squeeze. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and perhaps finish off with the nice stretch, sitting back onto your ankles and stretching the arms forward. Relax the forehead to the floor. And well done on those.